just the richest man in the world. He was the most ruthless man in the world.
Mr. Getty, your grandson's been kidnapped.
Mr. Getty, how much would you pay to release your grandson?
Nothing. What makes you tick? You couldn't begin to understand.
I ask as a mother to set my boy free.
No one has ever been richer than you are at this moment. What would it take for you to feel secure?
More.
He will do things to Paul that can't be undone for any amount of money.
No! All the money in the world.
Hello and welcome to Time About the Movies, and welcome to the last weekend of 2017, December 29th, and boy, what an uneventful weekend this is, and mostly because all the big Christmas releases came out the week before. We covered all those on the last episode, so here's the table scraps of what's left over, and let's just say that it ain't much, considering our first movie here, All the Money in the World, Ridley Scott's second movie of the year. This is, of course, the story of, it's based on a book called Painfully Rich, The Outrageous Fortunes and Misfortunes of the Heirs of J. Paul Getty, and it depicts the events surrounding the 1973 kidnapping of J. Paul Getty III and the refusal of his grandfather, the multi-billionaire oil tycoon J. Paul Getty, to cooperate with the kidnappers' extortion demands. It also features Michelle Williams playing Gail Harris Getty, and the mother of John Getty III, and also Christopher Plummer, as I mentioned, as Paul Getty, and Mark Wahlberg as Fletcher Chase, an advisor of the Getty family. Why did I say it like that? Advisor of the Getty family. Now, what's notable about this movie is the fact that they replaced Kevin Spacey with Christopher Plummer after the sexual misconduct allegations were made for this movie, and so they basically reshot the movie with Christopher Plummer in the role of Paul Getty, replacing Kevin Spacey. And this was 2 months after the film after filming had finished up. So they started shooting this in October. They did those reshoots in October. And they somehow got it out there in time for the Oscar push and all. But I'm sorry, I don't care how good of an actor Christopher Plummer is. You can't simply just replace a 56-year-old Kevin Spacey with somebody 30 years older than him just because of the misconduct allegations. I mean, you gotta take. It's like, I'm sorry, there's a difference between Kevin Spacey and Christopher Plummer playing this role here. I don't know if Kevin Spacey would have been good in this role. Probably would have, but you can't simply just give this role to somebody much older than Kevin Spacey is, because, man, does it fit? This movie does not feel, it doesn't feel like a film that just really fits with Plummer in there. This just feels like another movie that Plummer was probably brought into strictly because, he had just won 2 Oscars for body of work roles overall, and so Ridley Scott thought, I could save this movie by getting him in here, and maybe he can win a 3rd Oscar here. And, I mean, to his credit, he's fine, but the rest of the movie itself is just so forgettable and bland. I'm sorry. I mean, the movie really is not that good. I mean, it's just another example of Ridley Scott at least Ridley Scott's trying to do something different here, but it's hard to make this movie work when you have somebody coming into a role that's 30 years older than the person you had beforehand. And yeah, you're asking me to judge Christopher Plummer over Kevin Spacey. I think Kevin Spacey probably would have played this role a whole lot better, but I don't know, man. I really couldn't get into this movie, is what I'm trying to say here. And, it's not that the acting is bad here overall. It's just that the story is not really all that memorable. It just drags on and on and on. And Christopher Plummer's character only has one emotion to him overall, and simply the fact that he's a rich old man, and he doesn't care what anybody says about him, because he's got all the money in the world. That's the title indicates, which, yeah, that's good and all, but it doesn't make for an interesting movie. It really does not. I mean, I tried sitting through this, and I just could not get into it, man. It's a real lackluster film overall. There's nothing about it that makes it work, except for the acting in here, but there's nothing in this movie that really makes it work in general here. I mean, I thought it was I didn't think it was terrible, but I really didn't think it was as great as people made it out to be. And, yeah, Christopher Plummer's fine in the movie, but it's not a good movie overall. It's a real lackluster film on so many levels. I didn't like it. I just simply didn't like it. I tried to get into it, and I just couldn't do it, man. This thing is just pretty lame overall. And at least with this, it's Ridley Scott at least trying to prove that he still has some life to him, instead of just going back to his old franchises that people remember him for, and just trying to do something there where he's just doing the same thing over and over again. At least this one, he's trying something different, but, of course, situations beyond his control made him do something completely different and basically have to reshoot the entire thing 2 months before the film's release. So, Yeah, not much more to say about that one. So let's go ahead and get to probably the best overall movie of the week. And when again, it's a movie directed by Aaron Sorkin featuring Jessica Chastain and Idris Elba. So you would think it's going to be pretty good. So here's Molly's Game.
One of your ill-informed, unsophisticated opinions about me were wrong.
I'd be amazed.
You were going to be a success at anything you wanted. Why run poker games?
Just how deep into the Russian mob were you? Because your book doesn't say. She is not the person the press has invented.
She's not under federal indictment for getting bad press.
You know, I'm gonna figure you out.
Let me know what you find.
Molly's Game, directed by Aaron Sorkin, rated R.
Something I didn't realize was that I forgot this was directed by Aaron Sorkin when I talked about this yesterday, and two, this is actually the first movie he ever directed. He'd always been a writer. Of course, he wrote A Few Good Men, Malice, The American President, Charlie Wilson's War, The Social Network, Moneyball, Steve Jobs. Of course, he'd done a lot of TV work with The Newsroom, Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, The West Wing, and Sports Night. But this is his first movie he's ever directed, and considering that it's Aaron Sorkin doing what Aaron Sorkin does so well, of course the movie works out really well. This is a movie based on the memoirs of Molly Bloom, in which Jessica Chastain plays Molly, a former Olympic-class skier, as she runs the world's most exclusive underground poker empire and becomes the target of an FBI investigation. With her playing Molly and Idris Elba as her lawyer, Kevin Costner as her father. You also have Michael Cera, Jeremy Strong, Chris O'Dowd, Joe Keery, Brian Darcy James, and Bill Camp among the cast in here as well. And this is a movie where I would have been more than happy if Jessica Chastain won an Oscar for this instead of her body of work performance in The Life and Times of Tammy Faye, that movie where she was fine in that movie, but that's not the best. That's not a performance that should have gotten her an Oscar. This is a movie where she actually is giving it her all in this movie, and she is knocking it out of the park in here. You watch this and you realize, oh yeah, there's a reason why people think Jessica Chastain's one of our best actors and actresses, and this movie is definitely it. And for Aaron Sorkin to make his feature film directorial debut after all these years as a great writer, he proves that, yeah, this guy knows clearly what he's doing with his directorial abilities here. And, yeah, it's one of the rare times STX actually puts out a pretty good movie overall. I mean, they have been more missed than hit at times. They've had a couple of decent films here and there, but this might be overall one of their better movies in general here. It's a very good film. One I do recommend checking out if you haven't seen it already. It's a top-notch film, a very underrated gem of a movie. Definitely check it out, Molly's Game. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here. It's Daniel Day-Lewis, once again, trying for another Academy Award. Very rarely making movies, returning for this film here, which is Phantom Thread. And I completely forgot this was also directed by Paul Thomas Anderson after what he did with Inherent Vice, which was not a big success, even though I really loved that movie to death. This is the first time he's worked with Daniel Day-Lewis after There Will Be Blood, and it follows a haute couture dressmaker in 1950s London, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, who takes a young waitress as his muse, played by Leslie Manville. And, of course, with a Paul Thomas Anderson movie like this, it's going to get a ton of acclaim by critics, be nominated for several Oscars, including, like I said, Best Actor Daniel Day-Lewis, Best Supporting Actress Leslie Manville, Best Original Score, Best Picture, Best Director, winning for Best Costume Design, which, yeah, it's a movie about a fashion designer in the 1950s. Of course it's going to win Best Costume Design. But, yeah, you know, it's an acclaimed movie, but I'll say this. It's definitely one of the lesser Paul Thomas Anderson movies to me. Not that the movie is bad. It's just, I just didn't feel that spark or something groundbreaking like something from Paul Thomas Anderson, like a movie like There Will Be Blood was. This is kind of on that same vein as The Master, a movie where, you know, it gets all this praise as this incredible movie overall, but when you watch it in general here, there's really nothing about it that makes it that exciting overall. The visuals are the visual look of the film is impressive, but once again, what do we say here? Visuals don't make the fucking movie. But the casting is okay, but other than that, though, there really is nothing about the film that makes me say it's one of the best movies of the 21st century, because it really is not. It's just kind of it's a nice-looking movie in terms of its cinematography and all that, and the acting is really good, but that's really about it. There's nothing else about the movie I would say is great about it. And I think Paul Thomas Anderson has definitely made much better movies. I think Boogie Nights is a much better film. I think Magnolia is a much better film. Punch Drunk Love, There Will Be Blood, Licorice Pizza, One Battle After Another. I would even watch Inherent Vice again over this movie. Again, just my personal opinion on it. I was not a big fan of this movie in general, but I don't think it's a bad film. It's just, it's one of those overblown movies. I think people overhype it as something incredible, and when I finally get to see it, it's just kind of like, I just don't feel it, man. I just don't feel this film is as great as people make it out to be, so there you go. That's my thoughts on Phantom Thread. Yeah, like I said, not the best way to go out on 2017, unfortunately. In fact, I think this might be the worst I've seen it in probably a long time, because like I said, a lot of the good stuff opened up on Christmas week, the week before, and so you got these leftovers here, and some of them are Oscar contenders, but I just don't see the enjoyment factor out of most of them, except for Molly's Game. So, but next time we meet, we jump into 2018, and thus the countdown gets pushed down to 4. Only 4 more years left on the show to cover here, and we'll still have some 2017 movies to talk about, but before we do that, we have the latest film from the Insidious series, Insidious: The Last Key, which was supposed to be the last Insidious movie until it became a big hit at the box office, and thus they said, "Okay, Patrick Wilson, we want you back for another Insidious movie. If you want to direct the movie, come on in and do it. We'll let you do that in 2023." But excuse me. But Insidious: The Last Key, we'll take a look at that. That's the first big release of 2018. But I also have my usual leftovers here, and there's not that many, mostly animated stuff in general here. We'll take a look at the Jetsons and WWE Robo WrestleMania. The Jetsons are back after 27 years away, and after the Jetsons movie, what's the first thing you do with them? Team them up with the WWE, and that's not even the last time they'll cross over. The WWE will cross over with an animated franchise. We'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at Tom and Jerry and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, one of the more notorious Tom and Jerry movies that kind of shut down the direct-to-video library that they were doing. And we have that other WWE movie that combined with an animated franchise, Surf's Up 2, Wave Mania, because when I think of Surf's Up, the first thing I think of is the WWE. Seriously, why are you doing this to Surf's Up, man? But we have a couple of DC titles, actually several. Justice League Dark, Teen Titans: The Judas Conflict, Batman and Harley Quinn, with Melissa Rauch from The Big Bang Theory as Harley Quinn, and Kevin Conroy as Batman in that one. And then Batman vs. Two-Face, the last time we see Adam West as the voice of Bruce Batman, but also William Shatner is playing Two-Face. We have Nickelodeon coming into play here with the long-awaited Hey Arnold, the Jungle movie. 15 years after the series ended, they got the gang back together to give us the long-awaited sequel we've been waiting for, which should have been the original Hey Arnold movie, but of course wasn't. But we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about Netflix's biggest foray into filmmaking at that point. David Ayer directing Will Smith and Joel Edgerton in the sci-fi fantasy Bright, which wasn't as bright as they were hoping for here. So, in total, we've got, let's see, that one movie plus about 10 movies overall to take a look at. Insidious: The Last Key, Jetsons and WWE, Tom and Jerry, Willy Wonka, Surf's Up 2, Wave Mania, Justice League Dark, Teen Titans, Batman and Harley Quinn, Batman vs. Two-Face, Hey Arnold, the Jungle movie, and Bright. So, a lot of movies to kick off 2018. That will happen tomorrow here on the show, so stay tuned for that. With all that said, though, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.